That's a good one.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
You are listening to Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.
Welcome back to episode 3, season 4 of the Digging In Podcast. Another special guest, Roan. Don't call him Roan Cannon. Roan, how you doing this morning?
Doing great, John. Just happy to be here.
I heard you had a big achievement.
Yeah, I recently took and passed the Series 65 exam. So pretty cool.
Uniform Investment Advisor Law exam.
Correct.
Big achievement, man.
Yeah, it took a lot of work. 6 months. Well, I would say 5 months of 5 months of studying and a lot of probably thousands of practice questions.
First time though, you passed it.
I did. I wanted it really bad to pass the first time.
I probably crushed it.
I probably didn't need to do all the extra work, but I really wanted to pass the first try. So
you know what? That's the grit I like to hear right there, man. Well, good job. Congratulations. Definitely a testament to not only your commitment to Rooted, our clients, the team, but of course, just kind of furthering your career, and excited to see kind of how you continue to level up moving forward, as we've talked before. Before we get into today's episode, just want to throw out don't throw it out, but throw it out there, our retirement tax reduction reports. Whether it's saving a few bucks in taxes today, tens of thousands of dollars in potential tax savings moving forward, go to www.yestotaxfree.com and claim your free copy of, once again, our retirement tax reduction reports. Rowan, today's topic is Talking Money at the Kitchen Table, an ode to the Talking Money series that I started. Not bragging or anything. We're going to be talking about how money conversations, or the lack of them, shape us and how to start healthier ones with our family. First question. Growing up, was money something your family talked about openly, or was it more of a quiet subject?
Definitely more of a quiet subject.
Okay.
So I grew up, my dad was a truck driver for Pepsi for the first couple years of my life.
No free ads.
No free ads. And then he then studied to become a pipe fitter. So he's worked with Local 597 since then. But even then, looking back, we didn't have a lot, but they never put it onto us as kids, me and my brother. So I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, I would say growing up, it wasn't really openly talked about around, especially the kids, I guess, me and my brother.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I feel like as a kid, that's probably not what you should be worrying about. I think there's a time and place for when, you get older and teaching saving and budgeting and, spending money properly. But when you're 8 years old, I don't think you need to know that we may not pay the mortgage this month or something. So
you don't think that responsibility falls on an 8-year-old's shoulder?
I don't think so.
Just kidding.
I don't think so.
If there was one lesson, whether it was when you were 8, 12, 14, 16, can you remember whether it's one or the first money lesson that you did learn potentially around your kitchen table?
This was more my dad talking to me about it, not necessarily something I learned from experience in a good way. So one of the biggest reasons for divorce in America is money. Like not talking. Yeah. I don't want to say it and be wrong, but I think it is the leading.
Okay.
I think it's the leading reason for divorce. And my dad had talked to me when I got married last November, and when he was chatting with me about it, like he just made it very clear to be open and free about it with your spouse specifically, so that there's no secrets. She feels like it's hers as much as it is mine. Obviously that's my personal beliefs, but I feel like once the money hits the account, it's no longer my money, it's our money, and it's not worth money is not worth ruining your life over. So just be open about it, and don't try to hide nothing.
I think that's a good perspective. I think most would agree. I know Dave Ramsey would definitely agree with that perspective. I think it's not only just, the money's yours, right, in terms of ours, you and your spouse, but just not hiding, financially related things, really anything probably from your spouse. I would say, just from my experience meeting with people and talking with people, I agree with that perspective primarily. I think on the secondary side, I could see, maybe a newlywed couple that was divorced previously. It seems to be common that they keep things separate in their older
Yeah.
age, which I'm not saying is right or wrong, but I just see that more than anything. And I think that's because of their past
Yep.
experiences.
Which would lead you to believe that money's typically a problem.
Exactly. Actually, I've actually had a conversation with a newlywed couple, that was their second marriage, where the first time that they talked about what they had was with me. Talk about it. It was a little uncomfortable for me, quite frankly, but I think everyone.
You have how much?
It was interesting. It was interesting to say the least. What was there ever a money conversation with your parents that stuck with you, whether it was good or bad?
From the time I was really young, it was always, me and my brother were both really big on saving. I don't know what fascinated us about it, but we would go long amounts of time without spending money because my parents were like, obviously they'd buy us everything we needed. I never had to go without. But stuff that maybe is not a necessity, a video game, new cooler shoes or something, my parents made it a point to make me and my brother kind of pay for that. Like the Christmas money you're getting, it's not just money you can spend on whatever. It's like that you choose kind of what you're spending it on. I remember at Christmas, I had been asking, still so grateful, but I had been asking for a gaming laptop for a very long time. It was my 6th grade Christmas. And you get them younger and younger nowadays. But I had been saving up for a year and a half at that point. Birthdays, Christmas, anytime I got money, saving it. And I remember on Christmas morning, they surprised me with it. And they covered the latter half of it, but I think I had to cough up about $800 of my own money from upstairs. So like I get the present, I open it. After everything was said and done, I walked upstairs, grabbed all of my money and gave it to them. And that was like, so that was my lesson I learned, was how to, save, delaying gratification to save for the things that you really care about. And I think that's something to be said. If you have a spending problem, which a lot of us in America do, I know I do with some things, I think one of my favorite things is to just take a week and just sit on it. If I want to buy a new set of golf clubs, I might just be like, okay, if I still want this in a week and I'm consistently thinking about it, I'll get it. Because I believe that, it's something I enjoy doing. I'm going to spend some money on it. But if it's an impulsive purchase, I might forget about it. And that's helpful.
I think that's good advice. I think transparently, I used to be an impulsive purchaser back in my younger days, and that never led to really anything good, right?
Nope.
Andrew Lee actually taught me, his is more just sleep on it. Yeah. I think taking a week's probably even better. But probably one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten was from Andrew Lee. Anytime I want to make any purchase, just sleep on it. And I would say 50% of the time I wake up the next morning, I'm like, that's stupid.
Yeah, why was I doing that?
Yeah. So very interesting, kind of take a week, sleep on it. I think that's really good advice. What advice would you give parents who want to raise financially confident children?
Oh, this is good, because I see a lot of stuff, whether it's on whatever various social media of, I make my kid pay rent. It's a couple bucks from their chores that they do, but in turn, they save that money up for rent and then they give it to them later, which I think is really cool. Not necessarily saying that's the way to go about it, but I think overall, just for raising kids, from what I've learned, at least how my dad raised me, having adult conversations, obviously appropriate adult conversations, but adult conversations about responsibility with your kids younger than you think helps out tremendously. I was talked to as an adult from a very young age, and I think that's led to a couple of things I've done a little earlier, getting married at 19 for one of them. It's because I understand the responsibility and what it takes to be an adult because of those conversations that were had. So have adult conversations with your kids about money, because money, unfortunately and fortunately, kind of rules the world, and you need to know the ins and outs.
So good segue to newly married. I don't know how early in the cards, children are, but I think maybe just touch.
Hopefully a few years. I don't want to be 20 with kids, but we're going to find out.
We're going to find out. So touch on maybe just the conversations that you and Chloe, had and have had about, marriage and money? And then have you, this might be a little personal, but like, have you had conversations already of like, how are we going to approach the subject with our kids? Like, just kind of speak to your own perspective.
So something I'd recommend to anybody getting married, go through what's called premarital counseling. Okay. So you take a couple weeks, talk about everything that you can think of that is going to be an important part of the next however many years. So we went through raising children, talking about money, what work is going to look like all of those things we talked about, and made sure, because you would not believe how many people don't even realize they're not on the same page on half of those things until they get married. They will start having those conversations after, and that's a recipe for disaster. So we've had the conversations beforehand. I did it a little unorthodox. We moved in together a year before we got married, and it's the day we moved in, I said, we're going to combine. I said, as long as you're comfortable with it, I want to combine our bank accounts, because I was working way more than her at the time. She's still in nursing school now, but she was in school then. And I just want you to know everything that's mine is yours. So we went to the bank and we combined everything. That's kind of how we let out that we were in it together. So everything we were going to do money-wise is going to be together. Obviously I handle the investment side of what we do, but I'm very transparent with her of, how things are doing and what we're doing with them. And I think all stems down to communication. So I talk with her about it as much as I can. Probably too much, she'll probably tell you. I'm a little bit of a worrywart when it comes to money, but not in the sense of we don't have enough. I'm just always thinking about the future. So yeah, communication for sure.
You sound like Zach, because Zach's always thinking ahead, always thinking about the future.
Looking pretty far.
I think those were good perspective, quite frankly, on a lot of different things there. So much appreciated. Grateful for your time here today. Looking super sharp. Leveled up the game for sure on the dress side of things. And once again, just kind of looking forward to, seeing you continue to grow and, how you positively impact Rooted and our clients. So just a reminder, for your free copy of our tax reduction report, go to www.yes-to-taxfree.com, and looking forward to digging in soon.
This was Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.